bear crawling nation on the knowledge industry.
This is R. Mortimer, and welcome to the other side of live. Welcome everybody to the #1 late night taking out the garbage motivational show, otherwise known as The Other Side of Live. The working title for tonight's episode is Garbage In, Garbage Out. And tonight we are live from Roseville, Minnesota, and deep in the backwoods in the Bear's Den in Monticello, Georgia, creeping around in there, finding out what popes are doing in woods. Is the dark side of positive, Charles McFall.
You know, some nights you make me regret my decision to land here, of all places. But now, that's not tonight. Not tonight. Tonight, I'm happy to be here.
How you doing, my friend?
I am good, actually. I feel like I've gotten a lot done today. You were a part of that. And things are moving forward, and it's starting to feel better. I do wish that we were more clear on our future, as in being there now. We're doing this, we're working at it, we're making money, this is our job, but currently we're doing what we can with what we have, and I feel good about it. Yeah,
definitely. We had a great production meeting for, Success Freaks, The Other Side of Live, whatever we're going to be calling ourselves. So moving forward, and a lot of things are starting to happen. A lot of our ideas are coming to fruition. I mean, they're still at the end of a long road of a lot of work, but still, I mean, it's an exciting time for The Other Side of Live.
We're starting new things, like you and I meet on Thursdays to decide the topic, so we can promote it more. As in, 5 minutes before the show instead of a minute. We get that out there.
Yeah, I actually had it all worked out already before today. I could work on other things today. That was nice.
It wasn't it. It did free up. Usually our Tuesday conversations like, oh crap, what are we going to talk about? Because we need to talk about it tonight. What's going on in our lives? And I think planning ahead has helped. And I actually have a book now. I'm writing stuff in for ideas and questions and those kind of things. And yeah, it's moving forward.
Now, do we have something planned for next week? Did you tell me that there's something already going on for next week?
We actually have the next 2 weeks planned. All
right, because I already got the next show topic.
No, you don't.
I do, but it doesn't have to be next week. It'll be it'll be in 3 weeks.
You know what next week is, right?
Jeff Hall's birthday?
It's September 5th. What do we do the first Tuesday of September?
Oh, Success Freaks Night.
There you go. Which, that means you need to read your book, because I haven't.
Okay.
Hey, breaking news in the chat room. 2 things. One, Rathburn had a great interview on the radio last week, and that's awesome. Kudos to you. And secondly, Gitmo Slave says, Tosol Mordant, you ready for a longer show? How about now? What about now?
Is it Gitmo Slave, is this you having a phone conversation with me? Because if it is, you suck at it. So yeah, he's supposed to call me. We're supposed to chat.
You are happy tonight because your loved one has returned home safe.
Yes, right here at my fingertips. I'm so excited. My computer.
Yes, I was going to say, please explain what's at your fingertips.
Yeah, I've been working off of a netbook, and although it has served me well, I have missed, long, tall Sally here. Yeah. I can see everything. I can see everything, and that's just fantastic. So
good.
But let's get down to business, because we only have an hour show. Gitmo Slave.
And we put this out. I put this out on BCN Tosol. Facebook.com/BCN Tosol is where you'll find all the up-to-date information on what's going on in the show and us together and that kind of thing. And I put out last Thursday, you were sick. You really couldn't come up with a topic. I didn't have much of I wasn't much help either. And so we put it on Facebook. What would you guys like to talk about or hear about? What haven't we covered? And oddly enough, that Noverton popped up again.
Yeah.
I think he might need his own show. He keeps popping up. You're watching. You're running out of your allotted time, sir.
I think he's fine helping out ours.
And what did he come up? What was his suggestion?
I can't remember exactly what he said, but it chimed something in my brain where we got the whole garbage in, garbage out. What you think about, does it really affect what you're doing, and things like that. In fact, I don't have what he wrote called up. If you do, you can read it, but I don't.
I'm trying to pull it up now because it was along the lines of what we bring in, both mentally, emotionally, and physically, we put out. I think some of it was a suggestion along the lines of how you eat and treat your body. Some of it was mental, for sure. And I am just filling time as I go down. Here we go. All right. Nolan Overton says, have you covered how your mental information diet affects your thoughts and mental imagery? Just like with food, you are a product of what you put in.
Yeah. Product of everything that you take in. Definitely, and I find that to be true. We're going to talk about that tonight. But first, last week, Tosol number 58, trust, was what we discussed. And I thought that was a rocking show. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's a little more heavy than what we're used to talking about. And, usually we have some clever title. But instead, we just trust was enough. And it was a good show. What'd you think?
Give or take.
Whatever, dude. I can always trust you to say the right thing, can I?
It was good. It was not where I thought it would go because, I mean, trust is such a big topic, and everybody, and we purposefully put out, what are your thoughts on trust? And even Rock Girl came back, it's like, holy crap, are you serious? Isn't there, don't you want to narrow it down? And I'm like, nope, I want to see what people say. And you came up with you said there's 3 kinds of trust, and I think you and I went in and out of the layers there quite well and just skimmed the surface. I mean, there's so much more there that we could get into, and we didn't quite do that. But it was excellent. I had fun with it. I felt good after doing it.
Yeah, both of us were like, that was a good show. That was a good show. And I wasn't able to listen to it this time because I had my netbook. Yeah. And I'm staying in a place where I have limited access to internet, so I had to wait. And now I've got my computer back, and I've already downloaded the show. I can't wait to hear it because I like listening and seeing how it sounds. Blah, 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 blah.
Side note.
So, garbage in, garbage. Are you ready to move on?
No. I want to talk about a little side note. You're talking about trust and the things that we do and our projects and whatnot. Lala Siegfried's new show that is produced by yours truly launched last week. Launched, pre-recorded on the network on No Agenda Stream. On Thursday night, she is the heir apparent taking over my spot on Thursday nights. And we'll be getting her live soon, but I wanted everybody to know her new project is out. And that is another place I'm putting my energy creatively. So you can check that out.
Now, when did the first one hit? Not live, but when did it hit for download?
Today, because I forgot.
That's awesome, because I picked it up. My computer actually picked it up, so that means I'm not way behind.
Cool. No, it hit today because I kept forgetting to put it up. I was very distracted this weekend, and I really honestly don't know why. I just was.
Yeah. Well, you're allowed once in a while. So, garbage in, garbage out. Are you ready to move on?
I am.
Perfect. Garbage in, garbage out, or GIGO or GIGO, is popular computing slang for if you input the wrong data, the results will also be wrong. The term arose in the programming community where instructors remind students that they must check and recheck in their data and coding to ensure that the results are valid, as computers will happily process wrong information and return a result. Now, something that I remember reading from 2 sources, the same quote, so I'm gonna name them both. We become what we think about most of the time. First, from William James at the turn of the 20th century, and Brian Tracy, a motivational speaker from now. So we become what we think. We become what we think about most of the time, and I find that that's true. Whatever you're concentrating on, whatever you're thinking about, you're going to start emulating that. If you're always like, oh, I'm such a goofball, I'm always such I can't do anything right, you're going to become that. If you're like, oh, no, I can do this, no matter what this is, I can do this, you're going to become that. So whatever you're thinking about, you're going to become. And if you're constantly thinking about, well, I want to enrich my life and become a radio announcer, and you're constantly thinking about it, and you begin actually not just thinking about it, but because you're concentrated on it so much, you start working on it, and you start looking for ways that you can practice at it. Eventually, that will incorporate into your life, and you will become that. Garbage in, garbage out. And at the end of this long tirade, I want to say, what you put in your head matters. What you surround yourself with matter. People, places, and things, they all matter what you take in.
That being said, now I am honestly not poking the mordant. I'm not trying to take the opposite side. It hits certain areas in my life, so I'm just going to speak out of that. Because I agree what you think about, you bring about. However, I was raised in a religious home, and we literally had something along those lines. I think it was a verse, or maybe I don't think it was garbage in, garbage out, but basically that was what it meant. I think it's a Bible verse that says, what you set your eyes upon, your heart will follow, or something like that. And it always sat on top of our TV, and it was used as a negative tool that says I'm not supposed to watch basically what somebody else didn't approve of. It was used in a way of, oh, well, what I think is trash, therefore you don't need to look at it. And so instantly when I saw Nolan's suggestion, I was like, that hit those notes. But when you came up with the title, Garbage In, Garbage Out, I was like, now wait a minute, sir. Because I think people put too much emphasis on outside of themselves. I do believe what you focus on, you bring about. I do believe that I used to be a hater. I used to, I'd look for something wrong. And if I found it, I would always find it, because you can. When you're hating and you're looking for it, you can find it wrong. It would ruin a movie for me. And if it ruined the movie for me, then I would ruin it for other people. So, but it wasn't the movie. It wasn't whether it was a bad or good movie. It was that I was focusing on being a hater. I was reacting out of something in my life. I guess what I'm saying is, you can watch things. You can listen to things that other people think are trash. That doesn't mean you're going to go out and be bad people. So I kind of have that defensive moment of I need more information from you.
Right. If you remember the movie Trading Places, where they took Eddie Murphy out of the urban, I think from New York, and they placed the two rich guys placed a bet that he was, one believed in nature, one believed in nurture. One believed that he was a product of environment. The other believed that, no, where he came up from, that's what he's going to be. He's going to be a product of his DNA. So, it depends on which way you go with that. I think that it's a little bit of both, nature and nurture. And do you believe that you're the average of your 5 closest friends?
Well, since I don't have 5 close friends, no, I don't.
So you don't believe that a person is... Are you just messing with me right now?
No, I'm not messing with you. Actually, I don't have that many. My inner circle is very tight.
Well, then let me say that. Do you believe that a person is the average of their 5 closest friends?
I don't know if I'd say it that way. Darker side of positive and all.
Okay. Well, then let me just say that studies have shown that a person is the average of their 5 closest friends. Garbage in, garbage out.
All right.
You'll tend to take on certain things of your environment.
Okay.
Whatever you're putting into yourself. If you surround yourself with a lot of artsy stuff, maybe you're not going to be an artsy person, but you're going to take on some of those qualities.
I agree. You are influenced. You are influenced by those around you. However, you still can make your own choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that our dynamic proves that. I am definitely influenced by having you in my life. You're definitely influenced by having me in your life.
Right.
And yet we still make our own choices. And sometimes we make those choices and then realize they're wrong.
True.
Oh, I should have went the other way. And sometimes we don't make choices and we're like, oh, I should have made that choice because I was right. But we're definitely influencing each other, garbage in, garbage out, or good stuff in, good stuff out. So what you put in your head matters. What you surround yourself with matters. People, Jim Rohn says, you're the average of 5 people you spend most time with, including yourself. So you're the average of whatever you're taking in. As far as places, no matter where you go, unless safeguarded against, you will always take on the personality of the places you spend time in.
I like that you use safeguarded. I think that's something I've instilled in myself coming up just in the last few years. I have found that, yes, I tend to fall into the mentality of the corporation I'm working for or the people I'm working with. I have had girlfriends who, without pressure, well, actually, one particular girlfriend, but she she influenced me strongly, and I was heavily in this church, and this and that. Basically, she influenced me to get rid of my entire CD collection, which had a lot of great stuff like Metallica and Godsmack and some things that people would say that were of the devil. And I got rid of it, and I had this little emotional thrill, and within a few months later, I was busy spending my hard-earned money trying to build it back again.
Right. So
yes, I agree that you are influenced. You can be heavily influenced by the people you're around, but I also think that I like that you, going back to what I started with, you used the word safeguard. I think while we will always be influenced by the people we're around, the places we work, I think that we can become the influencers heavily, and that we can be ourselves to a point.
And that also goes with, negative people versus positive people. If you're a positive person and you're surrounded by a lot of negative people, that tends to rub off on you a little bit. Now, you can remind yourself that your joy is not predicated by your environment. It's not predicated by your situation or the people around you. And if you're strong enough, you're able to hold that out and maybe even help change the tide of the energy around you and the people around you and influence them. That's a possibility. But sometimes you just got to remove yourself. It's like, okay, I can't be here because it's sucking me down. And that is no bueno. There's the church kids who were raised by a good church family, and everything's great, everything's fantastic, and then they go away to college.
Exist?
And then they go away to college, and then at college they have other influences. Now these are still good people, but they have different experiences, and they have different influences, and they do some things that their parents are not going to like, and people in church might be shocked at. Now, after that experience, they can choose and weigh which way they're going to go. And often they'll swing to one end of this, of the spectrum, dance there for a little while, and then bounce back. Now, they'll tend to figure out what they want to keep with them. They'll take some of that wildness and go, yes, I want to still do a little bit of this, but I love my upbringing. I don't know if it's the Amish or yes, some group like that, where once they turn 18 or a certain age, they're released into the world and say, you go, you live your life, you have your wild time. And they go out and they do all those crazy things. They wear normal clothes, they do, a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, et cetera, et cetera. And you'd think, or they just go out into the world. And you'd think that, once they're released and they see everything the world has to offer, there's a lot of good stuff, like all of the technology, et cetera, or the different kinds of people that you get to meet. You'd think they would choose that. Many of them go back.
Many go back.
Many of them go, I've had my time, I'm going to go back. This is what I believe in. So, yeah, you can safeguard against that. But for a while you're in a certain environment, you're going to take on the personality of that environment.
Sure, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember when I went to Thailand, which is it has the nickname of the world's sexual playground, and their prostitution is legal. And you're watching this environment as the bar girls come up to you and start talking to you. And because we're curious, we wanted to ask them. Now I was there with 3 guys, and then one of our, Serena Stone joined us later on. But I was there with 3 guys, and we all had a deal. Nobody goes home with anybody. You can talk to them all you want. You can, just see what this is all about. But we're all going home together, and that's that. So, and none of us had to drag the other one back. But if it was about to happen, we were like, no, we're going home. Mm-hmm. But we're able to talk to them and see what was it about. And in that environment where that was legal, was interesting to watch these people who, in their normal lives, wouldn't put up with this, be okay with it. And it was a very odd experience for me, and it was a very eye-opening experience. That can work to your benefit if you take somebody who was raised in a not great environment and you place them in a very good environment. That's going to begin to affect them. First of all, you take somebody who has been in a victim of domestic violence. Usually what comes before that is a beating down of their self-esteem. Remove them from that environment, and after a while, the self-esteem comes back. And you see that their personality comes back. And they're like, oh, no, I didn't deserve that. Where before, they're like, I did deserve that. So that's a good way in which the environment is affecting them. But also, there's that way in which, you take somebody who's been cloistered away from everything and sheltered away from everything, and you expose them to some of the bad stuff, they're going to get a little dirty, perhaps, unless they've taken steps to safeguard against that. Garbage in, garbage out.
What about positive in, positive out?
That's what I meant by for the domestic violence victims. That is possible as well. Well, things also affect you. Books, movies, pictures, videos. For me, whenever I'm reading my self-helpy books or my motivational books, I tend to take on a little bit of that vibe, a little bit of the energy behind the book. And you know, because you've worked with me long enough now, that that's usually the rant that I'll be talking about. Hey, this is the next best thing, and we need to do this.
Right.
You know? And then later on, it kind of balances out. I still keep some of that, but I've moved on to the next thing. So absolutely, good stuff in, good stuff out. That is why, you know, I've been using this phrase lately, kick at the darkness until it bleeds daylight. That is why I keep reading those motivational books. That is why I surround myself with positive people. That is why when I'm hanging out with negative people, I want to excuse myself, because it's going to keep lifting me up, and it's going to build my foundation so that even when I'm exposed to the garbage, I'm okay. Because I've got enough of a foundation in the positive that and now it's good stuff in, good stuff out. So that's my belief, and that's my experience. What about you?
Go ahead.
Oh, I said, what about you?
Oh, I spoke over you as you said that. Man, I'm just seeing so many levels to this. I don't want to go too deep too fast, and I don't want to nitpick and say you're just a nitpick. I do know that lately, through my influence of you, or from you, and the motivational things and everything that I'm researching and looking into, and now that I have more energy and time to focus improving here, I've been doing that a lot. I have noticed that sometimes my first response to people is more of a positive one. It's, I guess the point I'm thinking of right now is I'll hear somebody say, this person's negative about blah, and they won't use those words, but they'll say, I want to go do this. All right, go. Yeah, let's do that. How can I help you? Or then they'll find a reason not to, or they'll say, this person said this about it that was negative, or this person. And my first mental response is, get the hell away from them. You need to surround yourself with more positive people. Somebody's going to bring you up, because I have found it's the reverse of crabs in the bucket. We've told the story many times. Crabs in real life, if you put one in the bucket, he'll come out. You put two, they'll pull each other down. But the reverse is also true. I don't think there's a middle ground unless you're just a hermit, isolated from the world. I think you're either with people who are pulling you down or you're with people who are pulling you up. I don't think there's a middle ground there. I haven't found a middle ground. I found that I was either with people who are pulling me down, or I found people who are pulling me up. And it's where you want to be in life, is where you'll end up going. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. And when we first started doing this, you know, they say, who motivates the motivator? Well, you do. When we first started doing this, I think there's 3 stages with it. We were definitely helping pull people up. We were definitely like, here, let me help you out. And maybe there's a little bit of hubris with that. Here, let me help you out. I've learned these things. Let me share them with you. But whatever. Who cares? We're kicking at the darkness till it bleeds daylight. Who cares? You know, and that's from Bruce Cockburn from his song, Lovers in a Dangerous Time. Who cares? Because whatever works. Whatever works. So, we're bringing people up. We're helping lift people up. And we've done this long enough that now we're meeting people at our level. You know, we have people like Ronnie Rocks, and other, you know, everybody who's on Team Tosol, et cetera, everybody who's at our level now. So we're all inspiring each other, and we're all able to share. We're all pretty positive about the way this works. We have our off days. We have our off moments where we're negative, but, you know, we're not all, you know, Princess Pollyannas here, but we're all pretty positive. The next stage is to become comfortable enough to be able to find somebody who can lift us up, who's definitely at a higher level of being positive or a higher level of success than we are. And that's the opposite of the crabs in the bucket, just as you were saying. And I think that we're going to be moving into that stage for a while, but I think we're at that level ground now. We're meeting a lot of peers and enjoying this time as well. But if you notice, when you first start on your path of being positive, the thing that you notice is how many negative people there are there. Even in yourself. Yeah. Even yourself, you'll look at that and be like, wow, that was really me being kind of a jerk. Or I kind of, or your buddy, like, you'll do it to me. Oh, that's really negative, Martin. You really say that, and I'll be like, oh, in my head, I'll be like, oh, man. And out loud, I'll be like, whatever, dude.
And I know. And you know why you never say it to me?
Why?
Because I hear your damn voice in my head before it even comes out my mouth. Well, that sure is negative. Are you? So you actually don't get, you rarely, I'm not going to say never, but you rarely get the opportunity to bust one on me of, really? You're coming at me with that negative attitude, negative Nancy? Because usually if I have that attitude, I usually have some voice in my head going, really? You're coming at me with that attitude, negative Nancy? Yeah, so yeah.
So things affect us too. You know, movies, books, pictures, videos, whatever you're surrounding yourself with. What are you filling your brain with today? Whatever it is, it's having an effect on who you are. You know, have you ever gone to an action flick and then afterwards you feel so amped up afterwards? You're kind of taking on the vibe of the movie because you just spent 2 hours watching somebody and your mirror neurons have been kicking in like a big dog so that whenever they're doing something, whenever they're feeling something, you're feeling it as well. You know, those places are firing in your brain just as they're firing in their brain because they're not acting. They're really experiencing those emotions. So your mirror neurons pick up on that. And not only that, they don't just kick in with emotion, but when they pick up a gun, the whatever is needed to make those muscle moves to pick up that gun, those things fire in your brain as well. So you watch an action flick and you come out and you're like, yeah, come on, let's go and okay,
punch somebody in the face.
I'm all amped about this.
Yeah.
So you're really affected by what you've just put in your brain. Same thing with a horror movie. You have something to say?
I just don't know. Yes, there's been sometimes I'll go into the movie and I'll come out with the feeling that you're saying. But most of the time it's just a movie. It's just enjoyable. It's maybe there's some subtle things there, but not that over the top feeling like you have romantic comedy, you know, action. I'm not just picking on what you're talking about being amped up. I'm just saying I don't know. And I want to refer a story that I had when I was in college. I went to a very strict fundamentalist Christian school called Bob Jones University in South Carolina, and they're very strict. And my roommate tried to explain to me one night. He was a senior and I was a freshman, and he tried to explain to me because I was talking about. I was able to open up to him. So I don't understand. I mean, everybody says all this music's bad, dude. I grew up all my life listening to this stuff, all kind of stuff, and I've watched rated R movies. I've never wanted to go out and kill somebody. You know, I don't understand why it's so sheltered here. And he tried to explain to me that he goes, one of these days I'll take you down to the piano practice room and I'll show you how playing certain music I can make you feel certain things. And it never came about. We never went and did it. And I doubted it then, but it stuck in my brain. And I kept looking at it. And over the years, I came to the conclusion, no, you can't. You can't make me feel something. But what I have discovered is certain things can influence you if you're already thinking some way. Like, for example, to wrap it up and give you the talking stick back, to get your input on this, is I might get pissed off at something. I might be angry at something. One night I got angry at something. I don't remember what. I was mad. And I found that I was listening to Metallica. And I was having these violent thoughts and getting angrier. And that's when it dawned on me. Metallica didn't make me angry. And that's the thing I hate about, because the negative does come in here with this argument of, you know, metal music is of the devil. It'll make you be violent. Violent video games will make you be... No, they won't. They won't make you do anything. But I did find that I was angry. I was already mad. I was already thinking angry thoughts. Yes, the music influenced me more to where I had to go, okay, I need to turn this off so I can calm down. But it didn't make me that way. You see? And that's kind of why I have that reaction when you're talking. So it's your turn.
I have to agree with you on this. Nobody can make you feel a certain way. You have to give up that power. I've had people say, you just made me angry, and I just look at them and I did not make you angry. What I did may have caused you to embrace anger, but I didn't stand over you and make you angry. You have to be a willing participant. And when I go to see these action flicks, and when I go to see these, chick flicks or whatever, I am a willing participant. Part of why I'm there, so I can experience this. It's like being in a dream where you actually feel like you were really, really there. Because again, those mirror neurons are kicking in. So it's like you're really having the experience. And that's part of what going to a movie is for me.
Sure.
This is my experience. But you're absolutely right. Nobody can make you do this. If you go in there and you're having a certain emotional point of view, and you're like, I'm not going to change this. I'm just going to be here. Now, sometimes you'll be surprised. It's like when you go to a movie and you say, oh, this movie's going to suck. I heard it was really, really bad. And then it turns out to be really good. And you're like,
Right.
oh, wow, that was awesome.
Because you, even though you have these predetermined thoughts, let's just use the last one. I went to see Bad Teacher because it was the only thing out at the time. My wife and I spontaneously went, let's go see a movie. And it was the only thing out. And we both went, man, this looks so bad. It looks so horrible. But out of the choices, we decided to watch it. But here's the thing. We made the choice that we were going to have a good time, whether the movie was bad or not. It turned out the movie was actually pretty good. We really enjoyed it. We laughed. We both came out of it with a very positive experience. But I think like that back to what you're saying, I agree with you there, going, it doesn't, if you go and going, this movie's going to suck, and you focus on that, it doesn't matter how good the movie is, it's going to suck.
Right. I had quite the opposite effect with that, or I was affected oppositely with that movie.
Okay.
I went in expecting it to be great. I was all excited about it, and I did not like the characters. I hated everything she was doing. I could not empathize with her. I'm fine with the actress, but the character, I was like, I don't like her. I don't want her to win. And it wasn't until the very end where there was suddenly some kind of change of heart where I was like, okay, I kind of like her. But for most of the movie, I didn't like it. And I wanted to in the beginning.
And I saw that.
Before we go any further, I'm going to throw out, if you want to weigh in on this conversation,
Please weigh in.
Or strong feelings about, the movie Bad Teacher, you can call in at 218-632-1724. Once again, that is 218-632-1724. We are waiting for your call.
If you're listening on the podcast, you can hit facebook.com/BCN Tosol. There's a speak pipe tab. It says leave us a message. You can click that, use your computer microphone, or you want to pick up your phone right now. If you're driving, don't do it right now. If you pick up your phone right now, 206-666-5458, you can leave a voicemail. We'll play it in the next show.
Yep, definitely.
But I think that kind of goes back with perception a little bit. But talking about garbage in, garbage out, you went in expecting it to be great. I went in expecting it to be horrible. I think we both landed at the same place, that it was an okay movie. It had some good moments, had some bad moments. I thought Jason Segel was amazing in the whole thing. But I think we landed in the same place, and my wife and I actually talked about that coming out of the movie. We said we expected it to be bad. It was good. I said, I imagine if we thought this was going to be the greatest movie, if it was going to be the funniest thing, we probably would have been disappointed. And you just illustrated that I was right. I think that's interesting, how you go in, how your experiences are in your life, your mentality. To me, it's just not, I don't know why I just have this fight against that garbage in, garbage out. I think it's because I told the stories before, being raised religiously, and how they use that as an excuse even. Well, he was in a bad home, so he grew up to be an alcoholic. Well, it's not an excuse. He still chose to drink his problems away and stuff, deal with them. It's our choices in life that play into this more than I think the outside influences. Let's switch gears, and I want your calls. Please call in, 218-632-1724, and also call and leave us a voicemail or email us, that kind of thing. Post it on the Facebook page. We will come back next week and talk about it. But how about when you're the influencer? One of the safeguards I think you can have is not, I don't want to be influenced, because what do we say about negative goals? Universe can't hear, I don't. So if you say, I don't want to be influenced, all you really focus on is being influenced. But what about when you go in and decide to be the influencer? What experiences have you had with that?
What do you mean exactly?
Changing the negative to a positive. Very short example to help you out, because I want to hear your answer. Is the last EMS, emergency medical service, ambulance job. The last ambulance job that I had was very lazy, very negative, very half-assed everything, except for saving lives. I mean, they save lives. That's about it. That's the extent of it. I'm here to save your life. There's a lot more to what we do than that. And I came in, and for 6 months, I did what I do, which is sit down, shut up, and watch the puzzle pieces, learn the politics, figure out what's going on. And right about 6 months in, I changed the game, because I said, no, I'm not going to half-ass this. I worked for 4 days straight because I said I'm not going to half-ass it. And that instantly changed everything that company did from then on out.
Right.
So I was the influencer. I said, I'm going to watch. I'm not going to let them change me. Now, there were other negative changes we can get back into that they did affect me, but I'm not going to let them change me. I'm going to change this. I'm going to do what I do and be the influencer here. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that works absolutely, but you have to be strong in it. I've been on stage before where it's not been, there'll be times we'll be on stage, and whether it's really, really hot or the audience isn't jiving with us or whatever it is, we'll look at each other and it'll be like, this was funny before, wasn't it? And it's just, the show is kind of tanking. We're dying on stage. And then something, because we've done this long enough, it'll happen with one of us. And each of us has been the person it's happened with, where suddenly you'll catch this attitude of day at the beach. It doesn't matter anymore. The show doesn't matter anymore. Just have a good time with it. It doesn't matter that the audience is not laughing. It doesn't matter that everybody's sitting there with stone face. We're going to have fun. And all of a sudden, we'll change it from being so concerned about what's going on to goofing around and maybe even laughing at the fact that they're not laughing. And whether or not we cue them into that, to let them in on that joke. And it'll be infectious, and then one of the other Tortugas will catch it, and then the third Tortuga will catch it, and we'll start having fun. And oddly enough, it will turn the audience around. I've seen it happen time and time and time again, where the show that was going into the toilet has turned around and been a great show, and had people come up afterwards and said, you guys are great. Now, does that happen every time? No. But it affects our experience. When we do that, we have a good time. Doesn't matter, what's going on. My joy is not predicated by this show that's tanking.
Right.
I'm still going to have a good time, and I'm going to influence myself. And as my energy raises, eventually that's going to affect the others around me.
So for the sake of the show here, the garbage reaction you were getting, okay, because it was a negative one. They're not laughing. You're not getting the positive reinforcement, the positive feedback you want. So the garbage that you're getting, the negative influence, instead of being negative and crapping the show and just whatever, writing it off, if you will, because you don't quit. We know that. That's an assumption in this conversation. You just write it off emotionally and whatever, get it done. You chose to, instead of having garbage in, garbage out, and I think this, in my mind, talking it out, I think this is why I have a problem with this. Instead of having garbage in, garbage out, garbage came in, and you said, we're gonna do our best. And like you said, it doesn't happen every time. But what turned it around was you guys started performing for yourselves or for each other and laughing, and like you said, it became infectious. So instead of garbage in, garbage out, it was garbage in, I'm still going to put positive out.
Right. Well, and realize too that it wasn't that we didn't change the audience. The audience wasn't what changed here.
Right.
We did.
Exactly.
And there's something about it, the way maybe, having that kind of attitude changes our delivery as well. So maybe before we were a little pissy, a little hot as well. And so the delivery wasn't good. We've done enough shows. We've done enough new shows to know that when you first started off, sure, you're going to lose some of the bad jokes, but what really changes is your timing. And that makes the difference between a good show and a bad show. So what changed right then with the day at the beach is it just kind of changes our timing a little bit. And suddenly a mediocre show that we were putting out there, we were garbage out, suddenly becomes good out. Suddenly we've changed it into a good show by just changing our attitude. And that affected the audience. So really, maybe it was the audience that was getting garbage in, garbage out. And suddenly, because we gave them something different, they had a different experience as well. Okay. And that affected our experience.
Sure.
So.
Well,
go ahead.
Why, or I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it to get, not the answer I want, but a true answer to what I'm asking. We talk a lot about garbage in, garbage out. Of course, we reference movies, we're referencing TV, referencing people, that are around you. How do you turn a garbage situation, and somebody's already referenced family, how they balance, their family treats them negatively, so they balance by surrounding themselves with other positive people. But how do you learn positively? I think this is how I want to say it. How do you learn something good from garbage, from negative situations, from negative people?
Yeah, do you have do you have a specific thing in mind? Because that's how we learn, for one thing. Do you mean well, first of all, fire hot, no touch. Stove hot, no touch. You learn that?
No, I don't mean bad things. I mean, I've watched, I'm trying to rack my brain. I know I've seen some really dark movies that I loved. And I went, oh, you know, and I'll tell somebody I like X movie. And I can't think of one. I just can't right now. But I like this movie. And they'll get that shocked and horror look on their face because I'm a positive person. How, oh, my God, that you like that? But then I say, but here's what I learned. I saw this positive message, or I learned these things, these truths in my brain, universal truths from this movie. And what you saw, just the surface dark, horrible situations, and whether the director meant it or not, I learned all these positive strengths coming out of it, not the horrible darkness. That kind of situation where you go to a school, I think it was on The Secret even, or The Secret Teachers, I don't remember which, but I think there was an illustration of a guy gets out of bed, or a girl gets out of bed, she steps on something and hurts her foot, so she's negative, puts all this negative energy, and of course it shows a chain of events throughout the day where she's pissed off, she says something bad to somebody else, blah, blah, blah. It's a chain reaction. And yes, this is true, we've seen this. Positive, same thing. But can't there be situations where you have a negative, like with my family, there's a big ball of negative there, but they're still my family. But I've finally learned, I think, to pull positive situations out of it and not just go, well, it's going to be negative, I'm going to be I'm going to be negative.
Are you asking if a negative situation has a purpose?
No, I'm asking, can't you choose to go into a negative situation and not have garbage in, garbage out? Can't you choose to go into a negative situation and get a positive out of it? Yeah,
but you also have to be, depending on what it is, sure, you can be strong enough to do that. And there are people who do that. There are people, oh God, I wish I could remember his name. There was a movie, a Pat Boone movie about a preacher who went into, I think it was a Hispanic neighborhood and dealt with the gangs. And he was a preacher, and he changed everything. And it was based on the book by the head gang member who went on to become a minister as well. He went into this bad situation and helped change it. He was not affected by what was going on.
It's Cross and the Switchblade was one of them. Yep. And there's a sequel to it. One's either his telling the story and then one's about him. Like one's him telling the story of what he did. And I think the other book is somebody else wrote a book about him, but it's Across and the Switchblade, and there's another one. I can't think of the preacher's name. But yeah, I read that as a teenager, thought it was awesome, and then turned around and couldn't figure out why my parents who wanted me to read the book thought it was a horrible thing of the things I learned out of it.
Right.
I don't understand people.
So there's a situation in which that happens, where somebody who was definitely strong in his beliefs and was safeguarded against the garbage was able to bring good and affect a change in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
About I'm listening to the book The Power of Habits, and in the section that I'm listening to right now, they're talking about the civil rights movement of the mid 50s into the early 60s and the late 60s. Talk about going in and at the very, very beginning of it, I think it was right when Martin Luther King's house was bombed the first time, and everybody met there in the front porch. It was a big crater there, and the front windows are blasted out. Nobody was hurt. His family was home, but nobody was hurt. But if anybody had been in the front room, they would have been killed. And all of a sudden, there's all the blacks and whites, and there's the cops are there and everything. And somebody says something. Somebody pushes somebody. Then a bottle gets thrown. And it's building up into a riot. And that's when one of the cops who was at it, and they said that he was at a white supremacist meeting saying that he supported that, goes up to Martin Luther King and goes, do something, do anything. So he walks up and begins telling them no violence. And he changed the face of what this was. He changed the face of the civil rights. He began directing the civil rights movement, and he gave one of the sermons that he had been giving for the last few weeks, or something, probably pulled from a bunch of the different ones, that he had been talking about nonviolent change. So that right there affected those people. And he had been heading up a lot of what was going on, or the organization. After that night, a lot of other people started heading it up, and people were acting violently towards them. So even in their peaceful demonstrations, they were being beaten and pulled aside, and yet they would not act against them because they wanted peaceful change. So there's a situation where you're getting garbage in and you're not giving it back. because they believed in what was happening, and that affected a change in this country that is reaching all the way into the future, and its change is still going on. And I believe it was Johnson. It was with the Mississippi, or was it Alabama? Montgomery, Alabama, because the whole thing started with Rosa Parks and the segregation on the buses. Well, when that law finally changed, it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, "No, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You can't do that no more." And Johnson said, likened those people who were in the civil rights to, and he said, 188 years ago this week, Americans stood up for freedom. And he likened those people in the civil rights movement to those people. Now, if he had done that 10 years ago, and they talk about this in the book, if he had done that 10 years ago, it would have been political suicide. And yet here's some people who took garbage and gave back good. So it can happen.
Let's bring it down for a second. Now, let's bring it back local to ourselves, because it's easy, I think, for people to dismiss that idea, because it's such a grand idea. Martin Luther King, you know. Let's talk about the little things, the garbage in, garbage out, the negativity of our day. When we wake up bad and we hear the news on our way to work and it's all negative, 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 and we get to work and we're ill. Or in your case, you wake up and you didn't sleep well, and you check your messages on your phone and there's negative crap, or somebody's yelled at you. You're personally in a bad mood. How do we as everyday Joes change our bad day garbage in into a good one? Well,
as we all know, I'm affected by what I'm reading, so I'm going to say it's all about your habits.
Yeah, sure.
You know, if there are certain things that you can do, you know, if something is like, oh, I've got a bad attitude about this, or, oh, look, I'm in a pissy mood, but because you know what you think affects your reality, because you know that your beliefs and your thoughts, both conscious and subconscious, are affecting your reality. A belief is only a thought that you continue to think. That's the law of attraction works. Because you believe that, and you know that it's going to affect your day, and you don't want to have a crap day the rest of the day. It's like, okay, I can choose not to feel this way because they didn't make me feel this way. I allowed it to happen. So what's my choice? I am responsible. What can I do? You know, for you, is it meditation? Is it prayer? Is it, you know, eating a hearty breakfast? Is it listening to some comedy? What is it? What's your habit? What takes you out of that bad space? Is it that you have to put away the bad drama for a little while and just, you know, center yourself, collect yourself? Whatever it is, you've got to set these safeguards up ahead of time, or at least know what you can do. You know?
Right. Now,
sometimes it's saying, and I got to say, sometimes it's just have the bad day for a little while and look for the good.
What do you do?
Change.
What do you do? What's one of your personal habits that helps change it?
For me, it's case by case. If something has really put me in a bad mood, and I'm smart enough to know that I don't want to have that kind of day, affirmations work for me.
Okay.
Affirmations, because they usually, when I start having negative, because I've been doing affirmations for so long, usually when I have a negative, you know, start having a negative attitude, those will kick into my brain. Instead of me wallowing in it, or I'll recognize what I'm doing. I think I've told this before, that I used to use my, you know, poor Ron. I used to use my buddy Ron when something upset me. I would get pissed off at him, and I'd be like, oh, he's always doing this and this and this. And I finally learned that was my tell. I finally learned I'm not pissed off at Ron, because I think about it, I'm like, I'm really not mad at him. Why? So I'm mad at something else. What is it? Then I get to the root of my problem. So I'd use it as kind of like Spidey sense. So, and then I could address that, whatever it is I needed to do. So that's how I would deal with that.
Now,
or I'd talk to somebody that put me in a good mood. And whoa, if we're both in a bad mood.
There's been once, I think, in the couple of years that you and I have been talking, that we got on the phone. Both of us were in foul moods, or sick, or tired. And we both went, we can't do this. We got to get off the phone. Or I can't remember how it ended. I think we might have cheered each other up, but
I laughed about it.
You better get in a better mood, because I'm pissed, dude. And you were laughing. You were saying the same thing. We both started laughing. It was fine. But yeah, woe to those who are in the bear's den and we're both angry. It's not a good time.
Right. Well, you can also use, and I don't want to, since I started talking about the law of attraction, you can always use visualization. What you put in your head over and over has a profound effect on your reality. You know, I believe that I get rock star parking, and you know what? I get rock star parking. I have a tendency to park really, really close all the time. It astounds some of my friends and pisses off some others. And then I think I've told this story, I know I have, where I was about to get into a discussion with my Tortuga buddies, and it had the possibility of it being very, very heated. So what I would do, I would sit down and I would image it going well. Not that I would get my way, maybe that I would get my way, but not that I would get my way, but that we would end, everybody happy, the issue resolved. Every time I've done that, it's worked out. Not sometimes, not kind of times. Every time I have done that, it has worked out that way. So you can take control of your situation. You can take control of your day. But it's just like any muscle. You have to exercise it. It won't happen at first. I've had friends say, you know what, I tried being positive and it just doesn't work. Well, you've got this big block of subconscious negativity, and you're smearing a little bit of positive on it, and you're expecting it to change your life. It's not gonna. You got to keep exercising. You got to keep kicking at the darkness until it bleeds daylight.
Let me ask you before we run out of time, because some of my habits to get happy, some of my habits to kick at the darkness are good, and honestly, and I think, you know, talking about surrounding yourself with positive people or whatever, when I'm tired, when I'm exhausted, especially on Saturdays, it's my last day to work, I'm usually very exhausted. Sometimes I'm ill, like just leave me alone, I won't talk to anybody. I'll put on Doctor Who, and it's such a positive show. Awesome. I know, I love that, and my spirit gets lifted. It's my happy place. I love Doctor Who. It's such a positive thing. But I wanted to ask you real quick, some of the habits that I have would be considered negative. Sometimes I just want to drink a cold beer and relax, and it makes me happy. Sometimes I want to go out, and you've been with me when I've done this, I want to go out and just smoke a cigar. The weather's nice, I pull out a cigar, it's smoking tobacco. I mean, some make jokes, some get mad at me, because I've done videos on YouTube, and my kids are around me, and I'm smoking a cigar, and like, oh, secondhand smoke. I'm like, it's happy, chill out. I'm not blowing it in their face. They're not smoking. You know, can you do things that are perceived negative, or might even, I can't say smoking is good for my body. Smoking is proven to be bad for your body. It's a negative thing, but can you say that positive things can come out of these bad habits, perhaps you would call them?
Well, most serious bodybuilders have a cheat day where they're allowed to eat whatever they want, and nobody can say anything to them because that's their cheat day, and it helps them. You know, the rest of the time they stick with their regimen. But they get their cheat day, and that kind of lets off some of the steam. You know, when I quit desserts, or I'm eating dessert now, and I quit soda, and I'm drinking soda now, I gave myself little cheat moments so that it wasn't, you know, all hard and fast, so that it wasn't difficult for me to be in a social environment at a birthday party where there's cake and everything, or at a wedding and there's cake and it's just kind of insulting. I'm like, no, of course I'm allowed to do it then. And that allowed me to do this, and I was able to do, you know, I was able to keep with that for well over a year. So I think, yeah, sure, it lets off the steam as long as you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting somebody else. I mean, if you're smoking cigarette after cigarette, then you got something to take a look at. If you're an alcoholic and you're like, oh, it just helps me with my stress, and that's a valid concern. But unfortunately, the routine is kicking your butt. You know, you've got the trigger, which is, oh, I just need to relax. But the routine is becoming an alcoholic. You need to have a different routine, because the drinking helps relieve your stress. So you want to do something else in there that achieves the end result, that achieves the reward of the release of stress, or achieves the reward of being in a social group. So you're going to always have the same trigger. You just have to change the routine. Now, I've seen you smoke. I've seen you drink a beer. Yeah. You know, I don't see a problem there. But that's me. That's my opinion. I mean, you know, I have a lot of people come down on me and go, oh, now I don't drink. You know, I haven't had a drink in over 8.5 years. So that's my choice. And I do other things. It took me a while to figure out how I can hang out with my friends in a bar and actually have fun and not just sit there and go, I'm really bored. You know, now I don't go out that often, but when I do, I have a good time. You know, I found my workaround. I have my trigger, I have a different routine, and I get my reward. That's how habits work.
Cool. And for full disclosure, for those who've been around me, there have been times when I have gotten drunk. There's a very famous recorded time that unfortunately is no longer on the internet. And when everybody was here for the bear crawling meetup, we got drunk every night and had fun, and it was fine. And I have smoked things other than tobacco. What he's saying and what I'm saying is, it's not the habit. The habit is what can get you in trouble or get you better, right? That's what you're saying?
Right.
Right.
Right. You know, it's these habits that you choose. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you're having whatever it is, beginning of the day, Jabba the Hutt is laughing at you in inopportune times.
Yeah.
So it's your habits that are going to bring you to the better day.
Agreed.
So figure out what those habits are. Figure out what you can do.
So you would say garbage in, garbage out, or good in, good out. I like the end here. I prefer to say it's your habits and what you do that helps you get through the day. And yes, bad habits will make garbage.
And I think at the end of this, with everything that we said, it's all about the choices you make. You have a choice, and you're responsible for those choices you make. You're responsible for having a great life. You have to take those steps. You have to make those choices. Not making a choice is a choice.
Yep.
Thank you, Rush, for that.
Well, quickly, before we start pimping, congratulations to you and the Tortuga Twins on your December victory.
Thank you very much. We had a Kickstarter project so that we could do our very first Tortuga Twins Christmas show and perform it and record it as a DVD. And we decided, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do a Kickstarter project where everybody pledges money, and if they reach that goal, and our goal was $10,000, then you get the money. If it doesn't reach the goal in the allotted amount of time, 30 days, then you don't get the money. And as of today, we did. So now we're just trying to push it. We got a couple more days. We're trying to push it and be able to get better stuff.
$5 million. My wife, incidentally, thinks that I should play either Tiny Tim in your production or the Ghost of Christmas Present because I'm big. I'm like,
we'll see if we can find a spot for you.
You can find more of Mr. Mordant here, our Mordant Mon, at mordantworld.com. Facebook.com/MordantWorld to find out what else he's into. He writes blogs off of these shows. He does speaking engagements. He has some earlier stuff that he's recorded and written about. You can check him out there.
Now, there's a couple more days left. We're going to be we're trying to present at South by Southwest, and they're voting on whether or not our presentation is going to be shown there. Help Others Be Awesome. The voting goes on until August 31st. And where do they go for that?
That is panelpicker.sxsw, South by Southwest. Yes, sxsw.com. And they can vote still.
August 31st. Yes. You can only vote once, so you don't have to do it all the time. Just go in and vote for us, and that'd be great.
And think positive, because neither one of us are sure it's supposed to happen, but we're putting it out there to let the universe decide.
Whoop, whoop.
So there you go.
If you are listening to the podcast, did you say this already?
No.
Okay, we are live every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us at mordantworld.com/NAS, and of course the NAS stands for No Agenda Stream.
And if you would like to support us, shop through Amazon. The links are on all of our Facebook pages and on houseofthebear.com. It takes 30 seconds of your time. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and it helps us move this show forward.
Right. If you're listening to us live and you want to hear older versions of the show and different topics we've been talking about, you can either go to theothersideoflive.com and backtrack through all of those, or we're also available on iTunes.
This is the part of the show brought to you by the fact that we have to let you know where we are so that you can come find us.
That's right. That's right.
It just felt like a ongoing commercial. We're getting better at it, and by getting better at it, it sounds kind of commercialized. I'm like, this is sounding dirty. Let's take a commercial shower now. So
you just threw me.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what to talk about anymore. How much time we got? 2 minutes?
It looks
still?
like we're down to a minute. We've got 60 seconds roughly to fill.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I had a great time talking about garbage in, garbage out. Next week, what we got going on?
Next week is Success Freaks. So we're putting it all together. That's a chapter that's complicated. It brings it all together.
Oh, good. I guess we got some reading to do.
Yeah, I went ahead and printed out the form that brings it all together, and I wrote everything wrong. I mean, my goals are so messed up on this paper. It's not even funny. So we've got some work to do, and we'll work through it together next week for sure.
Fantastic. Well, once again, thank you for listening in to The Other Side of Live. I am R. Mordant Mon.
I am the garbage out bear because I'm not keeping it in.
Awesome.
Wait. Sorry.
What?
Sorry. No, I got a better one. I am the Dr. Bear. No.
Okay. Who? Child dream catcher.
So raise your
That was awesome. Boom, baby.
We will never be anything.
Holy shit.
Dirty little freaks.